to NDTV Profit. I'm Mahima, Vachhrajani, and with me is Agam Vakil. You're watching Ask Profit, a show where we get all your stock-related queries answered from our fundamental and technical guests. Well, you can ask all your queries on the number which is flashing on your screen at present or on any other social media platforms of NDTV Profit. But before we move on to the queries and, of course, introduce the guest for today, let's take a quick check on how the markets are doing at present. Let's pull up the benchmark indices and see what levels are Nifty 50 trading at. Well, the Nifty 50 is under pressure, down around 0.8%. The Sensex also is facing a similar kind of pressure. If you can pull up the Sensex, it's also down around 0.6%. But let's see what is happening with the broader markets and pull up the small cap 250 and mid cap 150 as well. The mid cap 150 is facing quite a bit of a pressure, more than the benchmark indices, down around 1.3%. The small cap 250 is also facing similar kind of pressure as related to the mid cap 150, down around 1%. Let's also pull up the breadth of the market and see where the market is skewed towards today. Of course, I'm guessing it's a seller's market, and yes, it's true, it's a seller's market today. The ratio roughly is almost 4:1 when it comes to declines and advances. So 1600 odd declines versus 400 odd advances. Let's pull up the sectoral heat map and see what are the sectors doing at present. There you go. All sectors in red except for Nifty IT, which is up around 0.7%. A lot of sectors facing pressure on the back of a lot of selling. But let's pull up some stocks in focus and see what are these stocks doing at present. Let's pull up something like Bajaj Auto and see how it's faring in trade today. Let's also pull up RVNL, Emphasis, and see, there you go, Bajaj Auto is down around 11%. Let's pull up RVNL. It emerged as the lowest bidder in Metro Station project for 270 crores, up around 3%. Emphasis on the back of Q2 earnings, where net profit was up around 4.6%. EBIT margins improved by a tad bit. Revenue up 3.3%, and the stock is up around 5%. Let's also pull up Crisil and Colte Patil and see how these stocks are faring. For Crisil, the total income was up around 8%, net profit up around 13%, and the stock is also up around 3%. Let's pull up Colte Patil. The stock is buzzing on the back of Q2 business update, where the pre-sales value was up around 22%, realizations increased by 16%, and collections also went up by 16%. And the stock is doing very well in trade today, up around 8%. And in fact, the stock is doing very well on a day when the benchmark indices in the broader markets are under pressure overall. But moving on, the stock in focus for today is Bajaj Auto, and we have Puneet joining in with more details on that. Puneet, what do you have?
Well, thanks for that. So, it reported its Q2 results yesterday, and while the results on an overall basis were very strong, meeting Bloomberg estimates as well, with revenue growing roughly 22%, EBITDA also grew by about 24%, and profits came up about 9% growth compared to last year. While on a comparative basis, there was expectation of a 20% growth in profits, it had a one-time impact of about 211 odd crores, and that impacted the profits, but that's also because of a deferred tax assessment and change in the Finance Act as well. But majorly, the commentaries was driving the negative territory and negative stock reaction today in trade as well, and that's because of the guidance that the company gave. Now, they said specifically that the motorcycle industry saw just 1 to 2% growth in during the festive season, which is basically Navratri as well as Dussehra until today, and that's been one of the key things because expectation was of a 5 to 6% growth. They've also said that the management is hopeful for a demand recovery in the festive period as well as in Q3 as well, and is expecting overall growth of about 3 to 5%, which is lower than what analysts is expected of about 10% growth for Q3 specifically. So that's one of the key reasons. Apart from that, brokerages have highlighted that 125cc market share has also been lost by Bajaj by about 330 basis points, while someone like Honda has gained market share by about 770 basis points in FY25 specifically. So it's getting the 125cc segment started off in a very blazing manner in the last 12 to 18 months, and specifically for FY25 there was expectation of Bajaj and TVS to consolidate their growth, but that's not happened, and that's one of the key reasons of being dampener as well. When you look at the brokerages, MK has downgraded the stock to a sell from a reduced rating earlier, but increased the price target to 9,500. That's still lower than the current market price. They said that Q3 the market share loss in 125cc segment is faster than they expected, and they prefer someone like a Hero and TVS compared to Bajaj. City also has a sell rating with a target price of about 7,800, and the key thing that they said was they were a tad surprised surprised by the negative commentary in the festive demand. Same was highlighted by CLSA as well. They mentioned that, against the 10-year PE average of about 19, Bajaj is currently trading at 32 to 33 times price to earnings for FY26. And that might be one of the key concerns. So I think the results were really strong. I think this commentary has led to expectations being slightly moderated, and that correction is visible in the stock price today. Back to you.
All right, Puneet, thank you so much for joining us and getting us through all those details, which railing Bajaj Auto's current stock price at the moment, at the low point of the day, down around 11.5%. But on that note, let's get in our experts for today who will help us solve our viewer queries. We have Ashish Maheshwari, he's the director at Arihant Capital Markets, and Kush Bohra, he's the founder of kushbohra.com, who's joining us on the show. Good afternoon to both of you, and thanks for joining in. I take the first query from Gopi Krishna. He's from Vijayawada, and the question is to do with Railtel. Well, his question actually is, he's bought Railtel at 537, and he has about 1,200 shares of Railtel. Wants to get a short-term view and a target price on Railtel at the moment. He's bought it at 537. The stock is currently at 433. There's been significant depreciation in the value of that stock at the moment, and the quantity seems to be reasonably large. So, Kush, I suppose because it's a short-term query, I'll take this one up with you. What would you have Gopi do with the current position?
Hi, Agam. Hi, Ashish. First up, I can understand Gopi's plight. The stock is in quite a bit of a loss. However, if you see over the last 2 to 3 weeks, perhaps even a couple of months, rather, from September onwards, the stock is going down, but on fairly thin volume. Now, if you see from the levels of 385, the stock has attempted a rebound. Yesterday, the stock was up on the back of fairly decent volumes. While it's too early to say that the entire selling is over, there's a possibility that the stock could see a rebound, and hence he could sell it at slightly higher level of about 460 to 490, fairly closer to his, or getting closer to his buy price. So my suggestion: hold on to this one. It's a sell on rise, and the near term low 385 that should act as your stop loss.
Right, Kush. Ashish, before I move on to the next query, I want your fundamental view on Bajaj Auto. What should be the next strategy for Bajaj Auto?
See, if a company of Bajaj Auto magnitude is quoting a 3 lakh crore market cap, and if management says that they are going to just grow by 2, 3, 4% in motorcycle segment, which is their bread and butter, so this kind of reaction is bound to happen. I'm not saying the results are very bad. I think commentary is something, and the pessimism what the management has shown in their commentary is being reflected in today's stock fall in Bajaj Auto. Because in two-wheeler segment, if they'll show this kind of growth, just imagine what kind of numbers will come going forward. Because if I see by 23-24, they managed to do from 5,500 crore to 7,400 crore profit. And if I see last 2 quarters, they are almost on the same trajectory. If I see they are going to do approximately that amount of profit only. So virtually no growth is coming. So why to give such high valuation if growth is not forthcoming? So my target for the stock will be maybe 9,000 rupees going forward. And also it will spoil sentiments for other players like Hero MotoCorp and TVS also. Because if leaders are in this particular segment are facing heat, even other players will also get suffered. So that is the reason other stocks are also down by 4% odd.
Okay. All right. So that's the view coming in on Bajaj Auto. We take the next one up. And this one is on ONGC. This question is from Gautam from Mumbai. He says that he has 5,000 shares of ONGC and he's paid about nearly 295 rupees for it. And he wants to know what is the support and resistance at these levels and fundamentals as well. So I suppose we can take both the views here. Kush, firstly, over to you on ONGC.
Well, the level that the stock is trading at just below, about 280 is where the 200-day moving average lies. So that's the most important and the most critical support level that you're looking at. Now, if that gets broken, then the stock can come in for a heavier round of selling, where it can slip to about 255 odd levels. So my suggestion: keep a strict stop loss just under the 280 mark, perhaps 278 kind of levels. If that is broken, then you're better off exiting your position, even if that is at a loss.
Right. Ashish, same question for you. ONGC fundamentally.
So this year, I'm expecting first of all, in this quarter, some decline is going to be there in their profitability because consistently they are reporting 10,000 crore plus profit. And because the crude is quite volatile and on lower end of that volatility, so their profit is bound to decline. So I'm expecting this year will be degrowth here for ONGC because last year they did almost 55,000 crore. This year they'll do almost 42,000 crore kind of profit at max until unless crude again start the upward journey. But nevertheless, if we have to take a call on crude and India's growth story, ultimately volumes will continue to grow here. But at the same time, upside in this stock is quite restricted. So in my view, 310 to 315 should be a price target to exit from ONGC because I'm not expecting any major upside coming in this year in ONGC until unless crude again become 90 or 90 or so.
Got it. The next question is from Pampathi, who is from Bengaluru. Now, he or she is holding 100 shares of Piramal Pharma bought at 222 a piece, and they want a long-term view for a minimum of 10 years going forward. So, Ashish, I'll stick to you with this question. A long-term strategy for Piramal Pharma?
So, see, like in pharma sector, this is not something like I like to remain invested for 10 or odd years in Piramal Pharma because we have seen a lot of volatility in their performance for over quarter. So the stock has delivered some good return in this year, but still it is below expectation from a pharma company, if you ask me. Like your chart is also showing 50% up, but upside is limited here. Instead of this, I'll prefer to invest in Newland Lab, which is consistently delivering very good returns. At the same time, maintain pharma hold better promising future compared to Piramal Pharma.
All right. Of course, Newland has seen a very sharp up move as well recently. And of course, building on the kind of gains that we've seen coming through. But let's move on and talk about Crisil. This one is the next one on our radar. And we have DJ Rao from Hyderabad who wants to know what can we do with Crisil at the moment. And this is keeping the long term in mind. Of course, Crisil is the account which has moved very swiftly of late and recover a lot of the gains from previously. Again, Ashish, back to you on Crisil and your view here.
Yeah. Again, Crisil is a blue chip kind of a stock. Like these are the kind of stock which provide a lot of cushion and stability to your portfolio. Even if you see 50-week high low from 3,700, stock boost around 5,300 and very stable. Even the numbers wise, this quarter numbers were pretty good. 171 crore, I think they delivered compared to 150 crore previous quarter. And again, the way credit rating business is growing up, again, these companies will continue to do well because for every bank loan now, you need to go to rating agencies and get yourself rated, along with so many industry reports are needed for any company which is going for even SME or main board IPO, etc. So a lot of revenue streams are building up for these companies. And I'm quite bullish as far as Crisil is concerned. You can keep a price target of 5,700 in 1 year time frame.
All right. The next question is from Maruth, who's from Delhi. Now, his question is on PVR Inox. He's bought it at 1,500 levels. He's not mentioned the quantity, though, but he wants a technical view as to, what is the next strategy with respect to PVR Inox. So, Kush, your view as to how is PVR Inox looking on charts?
Well, not a bad idea to maybe book some profits on this one. It also depends on the kind of strategy that he had before entering the stock. I mean, was it a part of his medium-term or short-term kind of a trade? 1,500 was a good level to buy at. The stock is now resisting around the 1625, 1650 mark. So there's a possibility that some consolidation is likely from here on. So not a bad idea to book the stock around these levels at the moment. And if it does again dip to his buying price, maybe a good re-entry point. So at the moment, PVR is a book profit.
All right. Well, moving on. We actually have a query coming in from Lingamurthy from Hyderabad, and his question is on two stocks. Well, I'll take one. I'll take the Allcargo, pardon me, Allcargo Logistics up first. He's bought 600 shares of Allcargo Logistics at around 76. Should I hold or sell? What is the future in the company here? Ashish, do you track Allcargo Logistics? It's been bought at 76. The stock is currently at 60 rupees per share. How are you assessing this?
I don't like, in fact, logistics or cargo stock as such, because they are the first one to go down, and they just move. There's what you call this is a Barsati kind of a stock when they move only once or twice in a year, and rest of the year they underperform only. Because again, the rationalization industry, which is dominated by mostly unorganized sector. So one or two companies, you don't have pricing power at the same time, a lot of competition. And there's a reason if you see even Allcargo Logistics, such a strong company, but numbers are pretty disappointing here quarter over quarter. And this is the reason the stock is hovering as near 50 to be below 58. So I'll suggest to exit from Allcargo.
All right. The next question is from Ruchika, who's from Bangalore, and her question is whether this is the best time to enter NTPC and Waaree renewables both, and she wants an outlook as to for 1 year, of course. So Ashish, I'll stick with you for this one. Your view on both NTPC as well as Waaree renewables?
Yeah, in fact, both are good stocks, and in my view, again, NTPC has delivered very good return in this year. And this NTPC Clean Energy, when the IPO will come, again, a lot of value unlocking will happen in NTPC. And that is the reason you should remain invested in. Along with Waaree Renewables is again, Waaree Group, another company IPO is also coming soon. So these stocks will, both these stocks will continue to do well. So Waaree and NTPC both hold, and in fact can be bought also at this price.
Well, we move on and talk about Trent. This is the interesting one because it does seem like it's turned lower now off late over the past few days. Well, I'll take this one up with Kush. We have a question from Ravi from Chennai. He holds 21 shares of Trent at an average price of 6,182 and wants to know what can we do with Trent. We're clearly sitting on a profit, so entered at an opportune time. Kush, your view on Trent now?
Well, I mean, everyone who said sell on this one has proven wrong. So, I won't make that mistake. But what he can do is he can book this partially. The stock is, the stock was already seeing negative divergences, around that 8,200 mark. So, the profit booking or this correction was par for the course. Also, the stock is no stranger to dipping up until the 50-day moving average, which comes in at about 70 to 50 odd levels. So, I won't be surprised that this profit booking continues for, some more time. That level is still way above his buying price, but not a bad idea to perhaps sell at the moment, right now, and accumulate again closer to the 7,200 odd levels. So my suggestion would be book partially, hold the rest of the quantity, and whatever you've sold, you could accumulate again near that 70 to 50 mark.
All right. The next question is from Saurav, who's from Jaipur. Now, he has 85 shares of LIC at an average of 621, and he now wants to sell them and buy something new. So he wants, to understand as to, whether he should sell, first of all, LIC or not, and if he sells that, what is the next stock that he should add to his portfolio? So, Ashish, your view on this?
Yeah, LIC, if you ask me, has under-delivered in this particular segment. Again, the rationale is though limited liquidity is there, but as we have seen, a lot of sell-off which has happened in the last few months in insurance companies. So LIC is again a stock which has underperformed, and in my view, this underperformance will continue. So instead of this, I think private sector insurance stock like IGFC, Standard Life, or ICICI Lombard hold more potential. LIC is a sale in my view.
Right. Ashish, Saurav has one more question for a long-term view. His question is on Polycab. Your quick view on Polycab as well?
Polycab is again a good stock, and I am very bullish on this electrical goods sector. And in my view, if you are holding this stock, you can continue to hold. And my target for this stock in next 1 year is 8,000 rupees plus, because the kind of growth we have seen in their cable business or electrical or in fact, they have ventured into the switches also very aggressively. So traction is there in this particular segment, and they are market leader in cable where they hold more than 50% market share. So they will do well.
Well, let's move on and talk about Birlasoft. This question comes. This is actually directed to Kush. And Srikanth from Hyderabad says that he holds the Birlasoft 200 shares at 450. And he wants to know whether or not it has the potential to surpass its 52-week high. Wants to know if you could also hold it for the long term. He's clearly sitting on a profit right now, Birlasoft, considering he's bought it at 450. So significant gains already. Kush, what is your opinion here?
So first, thank you, Srikanth, for that very pointed question towards me, and also the fact that you're making a neat profit, although it might have probably come off quite a bit. Birlasoft has come off from those 850 odd levels. Now, what we're seeing is that there's a support zone around the 560, 570 kind of zones on this one. As long as that is held, you should be in good stead. So my suggestion would be to keep a stop loss around the 560 mark. If that is broken, you should exit out of this. From a medium-term perspective, there is a possibility that the stock could rebound. However, the only challenge is that there are a couple of supply pressure points, at the levels of 660, and once that is taken out, perhaps even at a 710 kind of a level. So there's a possibility that you may not see a very sharp up move on this one. But as long as 550 is held, it continues to consolidate sideways. It's not a bad idea. So hold this one slightly deep, deep kind of a stop loss, 550, 560 kind of levels. Yes, in the medium term, there's a possibility that the stock could rebound. But what we like in this space more is the likes of Coforge, and in the large cap names, HCL Tech.
Right. The next question is from Praveen, who's from Hyderabad. Now, his question is for Royal Orchid Hotel. The quantity that he's invested in is around 700, and his average price is roughly 352. And he wants a view on this particular stock. Can he add more at this level, hold or sell? What should be the strategy going forward? Kush, I'll stick with you for this one. What should he do? Should he keep holding, sell, or should he add more?
I think he should sell. The loss is not too deep yet. The stock has got nothing going for it practically for the last about 3-4 months or so. Very broad consolidation range, but hasn't really shown any kind of signs of pickup. So there are a lot of other opportunities in the market that you could capitalize on. Why do you want to get stuck with something that's not moving and not showing signs of moving anytime soon? So Royal Orchids from my side would be an exit.
All right. Well, from there on, we move on to the next question. This one is on Sun Pharma. I will take this one up with Ashish. Dr. Sunil Kumar has 300 shares of Sun Pharma and wants to know if he can actually increase the number to average the cost in the long term. All right. So at 770 rupees each, it's currently at 1900 rupees per share. So Mr. Sunil Kumar is clearly making a huge profit, and over 3 lakh for a position which I'm assuming has been taken quite some time ago. Ashish, what would you do with Sun Pharma even at these market levels? Do you think it's a good bet, keeping the long term in mind?
Dr. Sunil Kumar himself is quite knowledgeable, and as he practiced medicine, maybe there's a reason he might have bought Sun Pharma at such a low level.
Yeah.
So kudos to you, first of Dr. Sunil Kumar, for buying this stock at such level and still holding it. And I'm sure you might be aware about the drugs or products that you recommend of Sun Pharma. And being a market leader company in the pharmaceutical pack, is no-brainer that this sector will do well, and companies like Sun Pharma will keep on flourishing. So in my view, for these pharma companies which are primarily into domestic market along with exports, there's a quite interesting time, because the demand is picking up for all their products for an export side as well as domestic side. And this is the reason we have seen the pharma index has done extremely well in last 6 months, and Sun Pharma has led it from the front. So in my view, you can remain invested here. For any new investment, I'll advise to wait for some correction, maybe 1800 odd rupees. Whenever it comes, then you can enter in this stock afresh.
All right. Well, there you have it. That's the view on Sun Pharma. Well, on that note, we slip into a short break. And on the other side, we continue with all your queries. We'll be back in just a bit.
You're watching Ask Profit, a show where we answer all your stock-related queries. Well, viewers who are just tuning into the show, you can ask all your stock-related queries on the number that is flashing on your screen or any other social media platform of NDTV Profit. Moving on, the next question is from Jagjot Singh, who's from Bangalore, and his question is on Prestige Estates. Now, he holds around 46 shares at 1091 a piece, and his question is whether he should exit, hold or buy more. Coach, I'll come to you for this one. What should Jagjot do for Prestige Estates?
Continue to hold. The stock has had a phenomenal run. If you see, early 2023, the stock was around 400 odd levels. It's already a multi-bagger from those levels. Now, from a medium-term perspective, consolidation is par for the course, and that's what you're seeing for the last 3 to 4 months. On the whole, this kind of consolidation might turn out to be healthy and could be a launch pad for the next leg of rally in the stock. So continue to hold. I believe in the coming months, the stock could very well head to 2100 odd levels once that is surpassed, perhaps even 2400. On the downside, there's a strong support zone near the 1550 mark, so that should act as your near-term stop loss if at all you want one.
All right. Well, we move on and talk about the next stock which is on our radar, and that's Tanla. Well, we have a question from Adityan from Coimbatore, and he says that he holds 46 Tanla shares, averaged at around 1,087 nearly, and held for almost 2 years. Should I hold or book loss? So can we go back to the loss number at the moment? It's, of course, currently at 870, and he's bought it at nearly 1,100 rupees per share. So the loss is nearly 10,000 at the moment. Ashish, your view on Tanla, do you think this stock can be held? Because the viewer has been holding on to this for 2 years, and not only is he, not making any money, but losing quite a bit.
Yeah. The rationale in this particular sector non-performance growth is not coming. Even if you see Tanla performance, even March to June quarter, numbers are almost same as far as revenue is concerned. At the same time, profit growth is just minimum. And I think whatever the profit was there in the last year, they will do almost same only. Because it's a tough competition they are also getting from the Root Mobile, which is now the MNC company after Proximus Group acquisition. So Tanla will continue to underperform. My suggestion will be to exit from Tanla platform. I'm not expecting any fireworks.
All right. The next question is from Behala, who's from Kolkata, and she's a housewife. And she has a specific question on whether she should buy Titan from this Diwali perspective. So festive demand is, is on an uptick, and she wants to know whether it's the right time to buy Titan or not. Ashish, your view on this?
No, I don't think so. For Diwali point of view or Diwali shopping point of view, you should buy Titan or in fact any other stock, because all these things are already priced, and whatever the rally we have seen in gold and jewelry stocks as such. So, if you are having long-term view, certainly Titan is always a good buy. But if you take my suggestion here, more mid-cap stocks like if you ask me about Kalyan Jewelers or Sanco Gold or even PC Jewelers, they stand to gain more because there's still big valuation gap between Titan and second round jewelry play. So focus more there, but don't buy anything from in this industry for just Diwali perspective.
Okay, just to clarify one thing, the query was from Deep Lakha and not from Bellary, so just a correction there. But Agam, what's the next question though?
Well, the next one is on Zomato. Well, we actually have a new entrant here. We don't have a name from the viewer, but he says that I'm new to the stock market. Which is the best now? Okay, I believe his name is Tarun, in fact, and he wants to know, is it a right time to buy Zomato? It's currently at 270. I'm going to take a technical view on this one because, plenty has been said about the fundamentals of the company. Kush, your view on Zomato at this moment?
Well, it depends on the time horizon. From a medium-term perspective, fairly bullish. From a near-term perspective, the stock has actually, we all know, run up quite a bit. It's seeing a bit of a profit booking, would rather call it consolidation. So how he could go about it is, purchase some of it partially, about 20%, maybe 50% of it right now, because the stock is still seeing that fall and, hasn't really stemmed it. It could perhaps, hold around the 250, 260 zone, which is a good support zone for this one. But you wouldn't want to miss out on an opportunity if the stock does turn around from here. So how do you go about it is that you buy 50% right now. The rest of it, if it does kind of approach the 250 mark, is when you go ahead and accumulate some more. Medium term perspective, fairly bullish. Near term, consolidation cannot be ruled out.
Yeah. All right. The next question is from Ankush, and the query is on CDSL. Now he's bought 30 CDSL share for 1490 a piece, and he wants to understand from a shorter term perspective, from 2 months to be specific, as to what is the strategy that one needs to adopt with respect to CDSL shares. So since it's 2 months, Kush, I'll stick with you for this one. What should Ankush do?
CDSL can be bought at current levels. Good support zone at 1480 mark. So that's where your stop loss comes in. Fairly volatile, so just be a little cautious on that front. But on the whole, if you see the trajectory is pointing upwards, and if you see most of the stocks in this space, in the financial services space, have actually done rather well. So this stock too, has done well, could continue to do well. As I said, 1480 is your stop loss. On the upside, you're looking at targets of 1660, and once that is taken out, is 1750 as well. So from a near term to a medium term perspective, CDSL is a buy.
Right, from there on, we move on and talk about Ircon International. That's the next question coming in from Murthy from Telangana. He wants the long-term view on Ircon. And, well, the question is, can I invest at the current market price? And what is the potential target in the long term? Ashish, this one is for you. Ircon International.
Actually, we have seen a lot of retail investors got stuck up in PSU and railway kind of stocks, which was from, again, PSU pack. And we have seen that almost now, whenever these stocks try to gain or to gain momentum, some scaling comes, because a lot of people are stuck up. So in my view, this is not maybe the still right time, because if you see last 6 months, the stock has not gone anywhere. And other sectors are doing much better compared to railway pack and particularly PSU railway sector stocks. So my suggestion is still avoid Ircon kind of a stock.
All right. Well, before I move on to the next query, Nestle India has come out with its results, and the results, Agam, are not looking very nice. They're below the Bloomberg estimations as well, and the Bloomberg estimation, in fact, was not very high.
Right.
And still, they've not, even beaten those estimates. Revenue is roughly at 5104 crores, where the estimation was roughly 5243 crores. Net profit is around 899 crores, where the expectation was roughly of around 908 crores. So not looking very nice for Nestle. It's down around 1.7% as we speak. So, well, that's the view on Nestle, and we'll give you, of course, in fact, the margin numbers are also just flashing on your screen. The margins have taken a significant hit at 22.9% versus that 24% mark. And this is, of course, on the back of higher raw material prices for Nestle, because cocoa, milk, all of these prices have significantly gone up, and which is why their margins are being impacted. And EBITDA is also at 1168 crores versus that of Bloomberg estimate of 1302. So even on the EBITDA front, they've not beaten the estimates at all.
So I reckon that there is only a beat when it comes to the bottom line, but I'm sure there'll be plenty of one-offs, which actually this is not a substantial beat for that matter. The only reason why the number is marginally higher than the Bloomberg estimates is most likely to be one-offs at the moment. It's certainly a perplexing one, and that's also possibly the reason why we've seen that sharp drop. Again, a lot will come down to commentary, what went wrong in the quarter, what can come through in the quarters to come. So a lot will depend on that. But of course, prima facie, these numbers don't look exciting. Certainly would qualify as below street expectations when it comes to the revenue and EBITDA front.
Absolutely. The next query is from Murthy, who's from Telangana, and he wants an outlook from a longer term perspective for Ircon. He's invested at a current market price is what?
Okay, I think that we've done Ircon, we've just addressed it, and I'm really sorry for that, Mahima, because I totally understand that you were fully into Nestle. So I'll take the next one up, and this one is on Tata Motors. Again, Lavanya from Chennai wants to know if it's a good time to buy Tata Motors now or no. So let's take up Tata Motors with Kush. Again, a very volatile counter, certainly a lot more volatile as compared to many others. Kush, over to you on Tata Motors. How are you looking at trade here?
So, again, not the best time to buy just yet. Although a fan of the stock in the sense that it does kind of rebound quite smartly, quite sharply. But at the moment, the selling pressure hasn't abated at all. It did take support at the 955, 960 mark, the 200-day moving average. Tried to hold on to that, but then gave away those support zones. Even now, as we speak, the volumes are fairly decent on this one on the way down. My suggestion is that this could perhaps test the recent lows of 860 thereabouts. So hold up. If you really must buy it, then buy in a very small quantity at the moment, because the stock is perhaps trading at fairly attractive levels from all the way down from 1200 odd levels. But don't go big into it. Hold. If 860 level is held, that's when you buy. Up until then, don't make a big purchase in Tata Motors just yet. On the contrary, Mahindra & Mahindra is something that you could look at.
Right. The next query is from Rakesh, who's from Ahmedabad, and he wants a fundamental view on KEI for the next 1 to 2 years. Now, Q2 for KEI did not look very well, and the stock has been under pressure since then. Right now, also, it's down around 5.7%. So, Ashish, your view with respect to KEI?
Yeah, KEI, we have seen already a lot of liquidation from 5,000 rupees. The stock has come down to almost 4,000 today. So again, it is down by 250 rupees. So I think instead of KEI, better to concentrate on Polycab, where such disappointment is not possible, because they will continue to show higher sales number as well as the profitability. So sell KEI and switch to Polycab will be good strategy.
All right. Ashish, I'll come back to you on the next question, because this is actually on the Tata Group stocks. We have a question from Priyanshu. And, well, the question is, what should I go for right now? And I want to hold it for 1 year. Tata Steel, Tata Power, or Tata Chemicals? What would you choose among these, Ashish?
Yeah. So I suggest, if you ask me to prioritize my purchase out of these three, my first pick is going to be Tata Power only. In my view, this will continue to do well because the kind of projects Tata Power is running and the kind of profitability is expected to increase in Tata Power, they will outperform other power players. And second will be Tata Chemical. And third, if you ask me, will be Tata Steel.
The next question is from Naga Malleshwari from Guntur, and he wants to understand whether this is the right time to buy Sona BLW or not. Kush, I'll come to you with this one. Is it the right time to enter Sona BLW?
No, not really. Massive selling pressure and quite a sharp one at that. For the last three sessions, the stock has actually reeled below the 200-day moving average. Even now, the momentum indicators are suggesting that the acceleration on the downside could could actually still be there. So wait, perhaps 625, the support zone should act as a near-term support for this stock. But certainly at the moment, I would suggest to hold on any kind of purchases in Sona BLW.
Okay, well, moving on. Well, we take the next question up, and this one is from. All right, we'll take this one from Bhaskar from Kanyakumari. His question is on Cochin Shipyard. Interesting one, because we've actually seen such a sharp correction in a whole host of these naval companies. And at the moment, it's currently at around 1,564. Well, it wasn't very long ago that it was trending well over the mark of 2,000, rupees a share, and even higher than that, if I'm not mistaken. It's corrected quite a bit over the last 3 months, and it's down around 43%. The question is, can I buy Cochin Shipyard from keeping in mind the long term, about 2 to 3 years? Ashish, would you buy Cochin Shipyard now at these levels?
I think you should apply an OFS, because OFS is going on at 1540. OFS is there, so better to apply the hit there. if you are looking for long-term investment. Because long-term investment looks okay because they are having almost 20,000 crore plus order book executable over the next few years. So company will continue to do well, but my suggestion will be to apply more.
Right, the next question is from Jaya, who's from Bangalore. Her question is on Ease My Trip, and she wants a long-term view on this particular stock. Well, lots going on with Ease My Trip. So, Ashish, your view on this?
Avoid will be my view on Ease My Trip. The management recently sold almost, I think, 900 crore worth of their own equity, tried to lure investor by issuing shares, but nothing is going in there in a positive way, which can support the stock. And we have seen continuous stock is drifting. So please avoid it.
All right. Well, moving on, a question from Anirudh, and this one is from Zen Tech. Need an outlook here. And, well, he's holding Zen Tech from 300 rupees per share. Okay, that's a huge one. Pardon me, 500 rupees per share is still a huge one because still moved up nearly 4 times. And wants to know, when is a good time to buy again? Kush, your view here, in the near term, is there a potential place at which he can go ahead and add to his current position?
First up, that's a fabulous strategy that is averaging on the way up, which is pyramiding. So kudos on considering, when can he buy more rather than, selling despite having this, massive profit. So kudos on that strategy and the question. Now, a near-term support for this stock comes in at about 1760, 1750 odd levels. I'm just rounding it off. If the stock does kind of tip to those levels, so from a near-term perspective, that's the level that you look for. Even if it does slip up until about 1650 odd levels, you could still accumulate. Beyond that, below that, the stock could perhaps see a near-term pressure. So the zone that you look to accumulate is between 1650 and 1750. If you do get it around those levels, not a bad idea to start accumulating again.
Well, that's the view on Zentech for now. But both of you, Ashish and Kush, thank you so much for taking out time and answering all the viewer queries at NDTV Profit. Well, another major trigger that the street is closely watching is the US election. Will Trump make a comeback, or will Harris step up to challenge the economic outlook? How will the outlook impact global markets, trade and investment flows? We discuss this and more with the market veteran Ramesh Damani. Listen into a slice of that conversation as we wrap up this edition of Ask Profit.
Sometimes it's said that nothing happens for decades, and sometimes decades happen in days. And to use that analogy, the last 3-4 months in the US election cycle have been crazy. You've had, Biden resign from the ticket, Kamala Harris come to the ticket, a couple of assassination attempts. And when Kamala Harris came on the top of the ticket, there was a surge as the Democratic base came back home, the money started flowing back home, and she took a lead, which is sustained for a period of 3 months. So from a 3 to 5 point deficit under Biden, she took to a 3-point lead, which is a fairly significant move. But the latest set of numbers that are coming in, almost hot off the press, shows the race is tied again with a marginal edge to Trump. So the race is still too close to call. It will go either way. It will depend, as you said, on what happens in the so-called October surprise. But right now, I think the best is, heads, Kamala wins, tails, Trump wins.
Is that close? Now, comedian Will Rogers has said that a fool and his money are soon elected. And that's an interesting question, interesting statement, because it's something that you were talking about as well. It's about the money that they're able to raise and the fact that Donald Trump is being able to raise money.
Well, actually, that's not quite true.
Oh?
Money is the mother's milk of politics,
yes,
especially in America. And how did they get Biden to resign? From the, not to be rerun the office. Nancy Pelosi and her, hench people, if you will, to use a bad word, told them to stop contributing.
Yeah.
And without the money, Biden knew he couldn't run. The game was over. The writing was on the wall.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris came back. The Democratic donors came back. Surge of poll. In fact, she's out keeping money than Donald Trump.
She's raising far more.
In the last 3 months, she's raised almost $1 billion.
Wow.
Which is the record amount for any US presidential cycle ever. $1 billion. Donald Trump, believe it or not, despite being a billionaire, is running behind that. And what has happened because of that, He has to go hat in hand to non-competitive states to try and raise money. He had a very angry meeting with his donors, Miriam Adelson, Stephen Wilson, that they underappreciated, unloved, that they should contribute more to his campaign. So he's also not being able to buy the airtime for television commercials, which is so important, online strategies, hold big meetings. So I think Kamala Harris, in terms of money at least, has done an outstanding job. Almost $1 billion raise in 3 months.
So, but then doesn't that tell you that despite, and look, we look at these predictions, if you can call it that, or where things are heading, but if this is really the clincher, the amount of money that one candidate is able to raise over the other, then the writing is on the wall.
Well, Trump is fond of saying that if money was the only criteria, Hillary Clinton would have been president.
Right.
So, and she had raised more money than Donald Trump, but didn't become president. America is a very divided nation, and sometimes it's in a few counties, a few votes will determine the winner. For example, in the 3 states that Biden won in 2020, I think the difference in the total vote was less than 50,000 votes. There's an interesting story I'll share with you, Alex. In the 1960 election, there was a lot of talk in the press that Joe Kennedy, John Kennedy's father, was buying the election out for his son. So to finally quell the queries, John Kennedy announced a press conference, and while he was talking to reporters, someone came with a telegram to him. He opened the telegram and said, "Oh, this is for my father." He says, "Jack, I'll buy you enough votes to win the election, but not for a landslide." And that put that controversy to rest at that time. So it is quite important how the last few weeks of the election shape up, what the so-called October surprise that everyone is waiting for, how that happens. But that's what makes this election so fascinating.
Also, what makes it fascinating is the candidates themselves and what they're doing and what they're saying in the run-up to this election. But it's been said by Stalin, apparently, that people who cast the votes don't decide an election. The people who count the votes do, and seemingly Trump has said the same thing. What is he thinking?
It's Trump 101. Basically, to any time something goes against him, that the establishment is against him, the deep state is against him. Trump is such a maverick candidate who's broken the mold in so many respects. In 2016, when Trump was running, he actually made a press statement saying that my base is so strong that if I went on Fifth Avenue and shot a few people, I would still get all their votes. And that seemed the most laughable thing possible. And it is actually true. His base has stayed with him no matter what has happened, no matter what policy has happened. That base has stayed with him. He also said, McCain is not a war hero. And if there's any certified war hero in America, it is John McCain, ancestor of 3 great admirals in American history. And that didn't affect him. So Trump is his own maverick, goes into his own head. And I think he breaks the rules of politics. And because he has the base, that strong support of 45, 47, 48% of the voters, I think he gets away with impunity. So this election, not like many others, is always at the margins. If you can just push a few people in a particular racial profile or a particular soccer moms or some other demographic, you'll probably win the election. But it's almost like a trench warfare, each man on his own, each woman on his own.
So you spoke about this briefly in the last conversation about the Electoral College and the popular vote. And the reason I'm asking about this right now is what you've just mentioned. Any one cohort of individuals could sway the election. It's that close, right? Where through the campaigning, you've had Kamala Harris go to make certain statements, position herself in a certain way in order to sway certain demographics. Do you think that will be the clincher?
It is, and the interesting part is Trump is addressing Women's Conference, trying to reach out to women voters. Kamala Harris is coming, God forbid, on Fox News, which is the ultra right-wing network. She's coming to speak there. They're just trying to get those marginal voters who would be watching Fox News, or a woman who would be against Trump but maybe willing to listen to them. The thing that I find interesting is that there's a huge gender gap in America, Alex. Among all women voters, Kamala Harris is ahead by 15 points. But among all male voters, Trump is ahead by 15 points. So almost a 30-point gender gap in America. Women favor Kamala Harris, men favor Trump. But what is astonishing to me about Kamala Harris's position, This is a black woman
Yes.
of black and South Asian descent. She's not carrying the black vote as handily as Biden carried it, or as handily as, say, Clinton or
is that
Obama
right?
carried it. So she's, particularly among black men, she's winning, but she needs to carry 80-85% of the vote, and she probably has 65-70% of the vote. And that could perhaps make the difference. So there's a big all-out push to get the black vote home. Obama going and talking to that constituency as only Obama can, saying, please don't stay at home, and please don't think that you don't have to vote for Kamala Harris, directly addressing black men. So it's a very, very fascinating group that 10,000, 20,000 votes in a particular county could sway the entire election.
Last question on this, and we've got a conversation lined up with Professor Larry Sabato up next.
He's truly an expert.
Yeah, and from my perspective, okay, I'm curious about this. In our elections here, we talk about voter turnout being an issue. Is that at all something that worries, political strategists and watchers of the U.S. election?
See, Lincoln said it best. It's followed. The key to winning an election is get out the vote.
Yeah.
Right? And whoever gets out the vote more. In fact, if it's a heavier turnout, that tends to favor Democrats as opposed to Republicans.
Yeah.
And unlike in India, for example, where the elite don't vote in India, but the poor line up for all hours, and you can see long lines of them voting.
Yeah.
In America, it's the other way around. The elite go out and vote. They vote early. They vote regularly. And the working men don't vote.
Yeah.
So if the working men who typically support the Democrats turn out, vote in larger numbers, for instance, early voting in Georgia, which is a swing state again, points out to a Democratic victory, because early vote tends to help the Democrats, who tend to vote earlier than the Republicans. So it would be who gets the vote base out. You ring the phone, knock the doorbell, make sure your voters go to the polls and vote.
Go old school.
Old school, and I think the person who has the advantage in the ground game right now is Kamala Harris. So if she manages to bring home the vote, she may be the next 47th president of America.